Welcome back, folks. Ironsworn Starforged, Vaults of Vaarn, Episode 2, where we will begin our story with Ardel Santos, a true-kin humanoid, being exiled from his arcology of non-mutated, pure-blood, true-kin folk in a task that is effectively a banishment in of itself. We need to find him some books of knowledge and rid his infestation of nanomachines in his body so he could be welcomed back into the arcology. Does Ardel want to do that? We don't know. Will Ardel complete the task beset upon him? Who knows? But one thing for sure, he knows that something is out there, and he's got to find a way off of this rock. To the stars, he says. To the stars. Welcome back, everybody. Again, very excited to play Ironsworn Starforged. And while we have a wonderful soundtrack in the background for me to get into the vibe, kindly allowed by Out on Our Own. And you can find the information in the description below on where you can find their music. For now, let's get back into the game. I wanted to go over the mechanics of Ironsworn as well before we get too much into it. Because last episode, the introduction episode, I forgot. I don't know if everyone knows about this game, but Ironsworn is based upon the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which, to be fair, I have not played any other Powered by the Apocalypse game except for Ironsworn Starforged. There might have been a few that I have. I bought Root, the role-playing game. I know that is based off of the Powered by the Apocalypse stuff, but I digress. What's important is trying to go over the rules as per Ironsworn Starforged. And it's pretty simple. It is based around these 3 dice. 2 challenge dice, which are d10s, and an action die. And the action die is the die that represents your character and what you want to do. The 5 stats of Ironsworn that you will use your action die with: Edge, Heart, Iron, Shadow, and Wits. When you do something, there's usually a move associated with that thing. And you can... There's lots of leeways, there's lots of play the game. I will explain as I'm going through the game and choosing the moves and why. And it's just kind of how I think and how I rationalize what I'm doing in any given system. And for Ironsworn Starforged, it's really easy for me to feel overwhelmed sometimes, so I like to visualize an option and then sort of roll and then follow the prompts given by the moves. The moves will be in the reference guide here. I won't be needing the main core book all that much, but all these moves I'll be referring to. and they all have a procedure to follow, which is amazing, which is what I love about this system again. And if I ever need any sort of, well, reference on gameplay, I'll usually use this. In context, because we are playing in the sands of Vaarn, I will be utilizing the tables here as well, when necessary. But whenever you make a roll, a move, you are trying to exceed one of the dice to have a weak hit, and exceed both the dice to have a strong hit. Say I want to make a enter the fray with cunning, so I'm going to use shadow as my main way to get into combat unseen and sort of go around my enemies and set up a better shot. And so I'm going to roll shadow, which for me is only a +1 on this d6. So my max for this is a 7 with no other modifiers. And so I would roll both of these, or all three rather, sorry. And I got a 1 and a 1 and a 1. Wow. Okay, well, I kind of jumped ahead to other things that could happen, but this is technically a strong hit with a match. Those are the challenge dice, a 1, the lowest possible, and 1 is the lowest roll, but I do get a +1, so it's a 2, which beats both of my challenge dice. So in a situation where you have a match on any of the challenge die, that's a complication if it's a weak hit or a miss, or if it's a strong hit, it's usually an opportunity. So there's an opportunity with this enter the fray move, this hypothetical enter the fray move, where I'm using shadow to find a better spot. And I could literally use that move and say, yes and. So my yes and in this situation would be, you know what? I'm going to say that we get the jump on these guys and we're able to take out one of them, no problem. So we have reduced their numbers before combat has really begun. And that's how that works. And you would just keep going from there. There's lots of other content up there in the internets about how to play the game. I just wanted to cover it real quick in the beginning before we get started. And, to be fair, I'm a little scatterbrained today, so I just wanted to hone in on the mechanics myself. So, all right. So we open up, like I said, with Ardel being effectively exiled and told to not come back unless he rids himself from the infection that is in his body. And that infection is actually giving him a couple of things. A companion, which is effectively a protocol bot. And we have named this companion and named it... I had named it something. I had found it here, named... Wow. Well, when I find it, it'll come into... Ziva. Ziva. The name is Ziva for the protocol bot. And I think whenever Ardel is in a ponderous mood, he probably talks to Ziva. Like, Ziva, do you ever wonder about what is out there and why we're stuck on this forsaken blue desert? Now, Ziva is literally programmed with customs and languages and cultures of the sands of Vaarn. And they only respond when Ardel is in those situations. So you can see how it would be a one-sided conversation unless Ardel is actually talking to someone and needs some translation or some custom help. So I don't foresee the protocol bot Ziva doing much of anything except aiding him in his formal social interactions. His firebrand ability, he is probably going to try to utilize that every day so he can gain a maximum of five, what's it called? 5 fire. And so I think that's probably what he would not have had an opportunity to do that before he got exiled. So we're starting his journey with 0 fire, and the protocol bot's health is 3 out of 3. And his hover bike is 3 out of 3 for its health. And this is where I want to create a vow. Now, he is not vowing anything with this task. They kicked him out with this creed, or with this task, to go get the books. He did not vow and make make a vow for that. But what I want to do is I want to roll on some tables here on the Starforged core oracles. What I want to roll on is a focus, a theme and focus. So I want to see if this is effectively going to be Ardel's kind of Rolodex. Anytime that I do this, I'm going to, because of his backstory of being some sort of a lore hunter, sort of administrator of information in the arcology itself, he had access. I envision his old job much like a modern day reference librarian type. So I'm going to just roll a couple of times on these tables. I don't need to roll this one. 92. So I'm going to use the sparkly die as the 10s and the solid blue as the 1s for the most part. So I got 92 for theme. Truth. Okay, so he's recalling something about truth, and the truth of what? 01. So what? The truth of an alarm. Truth of an alarm. Okay. Truth of an alarm. I'm going to add a descriptor to the alarm just so I can focus that in a little bit more. We got a 3, so active alarm. Oh, okay. All right, well, that is interesting. So I'm going to just write here, truth of an active alarm. So basically what I gather is that Ardel is thinking about his exile and what that means. And he wants to get to the bottom of it. So as he's standing there, packing up his hover bike, and it's not even his hover bike, but he knows that this is going to be an important tool in his journeys. In all of his readings, he has gotten the feeling and the understanding that the sands of Vaarn are not the safest place. Strange beings. There's rumors of a titanic sandworm out there, and he does not want to meet that anytime soon. He's only hoping that his skills of being a lore hunter and his companion Ziva, the protocol bot, and his trusty skiff, the hoverbike, he can navigate the sands of Vaarn with at least a little ease. But this fast and sudden exhalation from Vult, his home arcology, has him thinking on his purpose. And he's going to make a vow to himself. So this is a vow to no one but himself. And his first vow is going to be, I must find a book of knowledge. Now, that's all he wants to do. He wants to find a book of knowledge. He doesn't, and I feel like I should apply some sort of find a book of knowledge and do something with it. But there's no pressure for him to do anything with it. He's been exiled, he's feeling ostracized, he's feeling less than. So he has no real impetus to come back. Right now he's a little unhappy with his home, so to speak. So he wants to find a book of knowledge. Now I think I'm going, I can't spell. Find a book of knowledge on true kin customs. So that's a specific thing. So that might be harder to find. They might be in archives, but they're most likely going to be found in places that are arcologies that are still inhabited. So that might take a while. And so that's his first vow, is to find a book of knowledge on the true kin of customs. On true kin customs. And I need to set a rank for this. And I think I want to write, I think I want this to be there we go. I think I'm going to make this a dangerous. So it's dangerous. So dangerous vows take, for every milestone, you fill 2 full boxes. So basically 8 ticks per milestone. I always like to write it down because sometimes I forget it. And I do have these. But I'm a little partial to writing the quests and the stuff in my notebook myself. So I'm just going to draw 5 or 10 boxes to denote each of the track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is 10, right? 10. Yep. So we have our first vow. Find a book of knowledge on true kin customs. And this is a personal vow. So this one is probably less likely to fail, but as someone who likes knowledge and likes to have things likes to have a place for everything and wants to know things. If he fails this, failing a vow has its own consequences. So I think as he hops up on his hover bike and he pulses his right temple with his right hand, and just a little bit of kind of warmth comes from his hand from his innate ability, but that activates Ziva to basically coalesce basically come together on his temple as more of a think like a 7 of 9 in the Borg eyepiece, something like that. That's around his forehead and down his right eye, and he has this like slight metallic sheen on his right side of his face as he steps on his hover bike. And then we're going to make a journey roll. So one of the first things that he wants to do is kind of figure out where he wants to go. Now, he's only read about the Cerulean Maw, the region that he lives in. So he knows there's some safe-ish journey roads to various places. He knows that there is an archive a few days away atop a single mountain off in the distance. He knows that there is a settlement quite a few weeks north of here, and an old abandoned city pretty far away as well. But for the most part, everything else is wrecks and rumors of vaults in the sands, and of course the ever-present rumor that there is a titanic sandworm causing trouble. So we're just going to make a standard move roll, or a standard journey roll, or rather, you know, I don't think he's gathering information or securing an advantage right now. He's just hopping on his thing, or hopping on his hover bike. But one thing I did forget to do is, well, the vow itself, I need to actually make the move, swear an iron vow. When you swear upon iron to complete a quest. Now, his piece of blue iron, as they like to call it in the arcology, he is the only one that has it in his arcology. This was something that I had alluded to that's special, and it's special because he's the only one that has it. I don't know how, but narratively it's just interesting. I don't know why it's the only one or why he has it, but needless to say, he makes an iron vow and says, I need to find some more information about our own customs. And oddly enough, that being said, we know now that the arcologies don't keep a lot of information about how things work. They probably just want to make sure everything runs smoothly. So information gathering, yes, but have open discussions about culture on their own side is probably a no-no. So let us make a vow, and we're gonna roll heart, and Ardel's heart is 2, so we're gonna add 2 to the d6, and okay, so we got double 9. So we got 5 plus 2 is 7, so that is a miss. On a miss, you must overcome a significant obstacle before you begin your quest. Envision what stands in your way. But we also got a complication. Now, what I like is that there is a complication table. Story complications. I am going to roll on this only because I kind of need something to start, because our character Ardel is effectively geared up and sort of leaving physically. So I kind of want some inspiration onto what this complication could be. And this complication could be literally the reason why he can't start yet. It's so funny. Overcome a significant obstacle, which is wild. And there is a, he could pay the price too. He could pay the price. I kind of like that too, but I'm gonna roll on the story complication first. So let's roll that. We got a 43, sparkle first. 43. Someone important betrays your trust. Well, there is no one around. The only someone is the nanomachines, also known as Ziva, the protocol bot. So we're going to make a note that someone important betrays your trust. Now, someone important doesn't necessarily have to be friendly, but there is a active complication, right? Someone important betrays Ardel's trust. Someone important betrays Ardel's trust. Now, we will figure that out as the story goes. So that is not really an obstacle at this moment because Ardel does not know about this. I am thinking that about a mile into his just going off and not really picking a direction yet, his hover bike fails to work. It starts to sputter and just, falls to the ground. The sky-seeking stone that powers the skiff falters, and the innate science magic inside fizzles. As a omen, maybe? We don't know. That's an interesting thing. Now, for all intents and purposes, mechanically, we haven't started the journey, but he's physically moving along with the hover bike, but he hasn't made an active choice to go anywhere yet. That's why we haven't rolled on undertake a journey yet. So he has not been able to get a good start. So, not even that far in, and he's within eyesight on a good day. He could see in the distance the region where his arcology is there, and he can see the light dome barely off in the distance. He hasn't even gotten very far, and he just can't seem to just get away for a second. So what I'm going to have him do here is I'm going to have him I'm going to have him lose some spirit. So he's going to lose one spirit as he just cannot get this started. His quest, his vow has been faltered, and he's struggling to focus and think, let's just go. So he takes some time to repair the hover bike and settle down and set up a short rest camp. And in this moment, he gathers himself a little bit better, and he is going to meditate. And when you rest and meditate to gather this energy, roll plus spirit. And he did lose a spirit, but on a strong hit, add 3 fire. On a weak, add 2. But on a miss, you still take 2 fire, but you endure harm. So we're going to roll plus spirit. So still plus 4 on this roll. So let's have him sit down next to the hover bike as it's recharging its stone. It's a sky-seeking stone. And he sits kind of cross-legged, and he faces away from Vult, his previous home, off into the cerulean maw, the blue sand wastes in front of him. And he closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and meditates. Okay, we got a 10 and a 2, and we got a 4 plus 4 is 8. So we got a weak hit. So on a weak hit, take 2. So he has 2, so he meditates gains 2 fire. So he has 2 fire stored up for his firebrand ability. He gathers his backpack, he wraps it up on his hover bike, and he gets going. And this is when he needs to do his move, the exploration undertake. So we're going to undertake, when you trailblaze a route through perilous terrain or survey a mysterious site, give the expedition a name and rank. Then, for each segment of the expedition, envision your approach. So I think for this is that we are going to have a expedition to, and the nearest location that he wants to check out is the archive up on the single mountain. It says it's 4 days away, and it is along a path that has been used before. So I'm actually going to call this I think it's the easiest one, which is troublesome. Expedition to the archives on the mountain. So that is the expedition. And again, it is troublesome, so it's going to be troublesome. So that is 3 boxes per milestone. So effectively, it's only going to take him about 3 major stops or 3 events or 3 sort of roles to get through if everything goes well enough. So for this, I'm just going to do, again, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Love my chicken scratch. Sometimes I can. You know what though? This is actually set a course. Now that I think about it, it is not we're not trailblazing. We are following a known route through space or through hazardous terrain. So we're actually going to roll supply. Now, the hover bike is when you undertake an expedition. So we're not using that ability. Because I had said before, the hover bike's ability, or the hover bike asset, is fully upgraded only because he got it from the archaeology itself. Lore Hunter. Hold on. Oh, okay. I'm going to rewind. This is what I get for not remembering or reading all of my characters' assets. Lore Hunter says, when you swear an iron vow, formidable or greater, which we did for the actually we only did dangerous. Formidable, I think, is the next. I'm just gonna do that. I think that is formidable is only 1, so never mind. We do not get that bonus. I was gonna say that the Lore Hunter ability allows us to re-roll any dice when we swear an iron vow. So I could have made this a formidable vow, but I did not. So I do not get that bonus. And I will say this, just for anyone watching and is wondering, this is how I play my game. Very kind of loose. Even though this game can be structured, I find it fun to go off the rails a little bit, but then I forget things, and I do go back and I fix things. I do like to make sure that I can follow the rules if I pay attention, but I give myself the leeway to go back and fix things, especially if it hasn't been too long. So be kind on your characters. Remember that. All right. All right, so we have some course setting a course to do. So we're gonna roll plus supply and hop on our hover bike and get going. All right, so our first leg of the journey to the archives on the top of the mountain that we think is there, we got 2 and a 4 on the challenge die and a 5 on the action. So we already know that we are going to strong hit, but it's plus supply, which is 5, so it's a 10. Oddly enough, the rolling with spirit and supply are kind of the only ways to get a 10 in this game, or even higher. But on a strong hit, you reach your destination, and the situation there favors you. Take +1 momentum. Sweet. Momentum is great to build up because you can use that momentum to effectively be your action roll. So in theory, if I rolled 2 1s, bad example. When it comes up, I will explain it. All right. So my momentum is at +3. Spirit is 4. Supply is 5. My health is great. And I do this a lot, and I must admit, when I'm play games, I usually am playing myself, sort of, but my characters I sometimes just refer to as me or their name. I swap back and forth. It's just how I am. All right, so we do mark progress. So we have, we've made it a third of the way there. And I'll say that at the end of this first day of travel, we kind of cross into this next hex here. And what I do want to do is I want to roll to see, and it does favor us. It does favor us. So what I'm going to do is what I would love to do is the region generator table in the Vaults of Vaarn book. Lots of cool stuff. So what I want to do is I want to populate something in this hex here. And anytime that my character goes into a new hex, I'll try to remember to populate it. And that's not to say that's the only thing in this hex. It's just something of note while we were traveling through the hex. So this is our first night stay as we come into this space, and I need a D20 for this. What is something that people can read? There we go. I think that's a good enough one. Let's a 1. An anomaly. Interesting. So page 66 for an anomaly. An anomaly in the sands of Vaarn. There are more things in the heavens and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophies. There are more things. There are always more. So, oh, cool. I've never actually rolled one of these. So let's roll. Let's roll to see what we roll or what we find. So first night, or first evening, rest, found an anomaly. That's a hard word for me to say sometimes. All right, so let's roll D20 a bunch of times. 7, a luminous, 13 pyramid, and its primary effect is it translates language. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so a luminous, did I say pyramid? Yes. Pyramid. Can translate language. And secondary effect, 9. Induces mania. Interesting. But can induce mania. So This is a very interesting little thing. Now, there's no mechanical things that is noted about these anomalies. I think it's kind of up to the player, well, up to me, to decide what it does. Now, the role for our set the course in our expedition says that when we arrive, the situation favors us. So I think I'm going to interpret that as, okay. You know what's fun? Is I was thinking that maybe that the Ardel comes up to this pyramid from afar and recognizes its capabilities because of its translation capabilities. His own protocol bot, programmed with languages and knowledge of cultures. And this is not a social interaction, but just the fact that it is part of his psyche at this point. He's effectively kind of recalling Ziva's own programming in his head. And he thinks to himself, Ardel, you fool. We should not make camp here. Those things are not safe. But how does this benefit Ardel? I think this benefits Ardel by having we're gonna have a mad person come up and basically blurt out a bunch of information to him. And that's and there might be something that is related to his ongoing quest, or just more knowledge about the region. So the anomaly itself, the pyramid, doesn't really have any markings or any ways to get in or out, but it is slightly glowing this faint orange. I'm just imagining him stepping off of his skiff and kind of scratching his head at the scene in front of him is a line of people. And let us roll to see who those people are. We could roll on you know what? Let's just roll on who they are. So there's actually a NPC generator creating NPCs. So let's just roll. Ancestry is a Cacogen. So a Cacogen effectively is a mutant. For the purposes of today, I'm not going to roll on all these things, but just things that matter. So the Cacogen is a male and is thin. So thin like Ardel. Ardel is also thin. Ardel is... I need to remember, and I need to start keeping my notes and stuff in different locations so they're not all over the place. All right. So we got... yeah, so he is thin himself. So we got this thin Cacogen, so this thin like mutant. So they are humanoid, but they were humans that were evolved from the humans from ancient times that were not in arcologies. So it's interesting that this exiled Truekin is now meeting for the first time, from his perspective, an ancestor of the humans that did not take refuge in those arcologies. So he's being exiled for being not of pure blood anymore, and he's now meeting somebody who is definitely not pure blood, has a mutation. Because narratively and story-wise, Ardel, I want the reaction to be genuine for him. So, and I don't want to come up with something off the top of my head. I'm going to roll on the mutations table to just see what the obvious thing is. So yes, the mutation. There we go. So let's roll a D100. And that's easy enough. So again, sparklies are 10s. So 5. So 5. We have a armor. So your body's protected by natural armor. Okay. So I'm envisioning this thin Kakugen fellow is walking around, and it looks like he's like a stone golem. His arms are segmented. His face looks like there's polyhedral or polygonal pieces just stuck to his face, and he looks very strange. So we got this male Kakogen with armored skin approaches, and he's obviously a little manic right now because of the effects of the pyramid. And there is different languages in the game, and he could be speaking something else, but for the sake of the narrative, it doesn't matter, because between both the protocol bot, between Ziva, and also the Illuminous Pyramid, all parties can probably understand each other. So the Kakogen is going to be blathering on about what? So I'm going to move from this book and use the other tables in this, the action and theme. So I think I'm going to roll on the action and theme table to see what this guy is blathering on about. 59. I keep wanting to use the dark number first. I might switch it just for my brain, because I might switch it accidentally. So 59 though. 59 is Journey. So we have Journey. 59. Journey and 25. Disaster. Journey Disaster. Oh. Ooh, I like that. You know what that means to me? Is that this guy is blathering on about this journey that's about to be beset upon disaster. He comes up to Ardel and looks him square in the eyes, very uncomfortable like, especially from someone who looks like he's a mutated human with weird clay skin and stuff like that. Shakes Ardel's shoulder. Your journey you are on, you're going to fail. And he's gone crazy. And it's a very interesting interaction. And I think he's going to try to... He is going to try to talk to this guy. And because we are doing this, he's going to add +1 because of his protocol bot, feeding him information on how to deal with, Kakogen, but also, potential manic energy. So let us roll on. This is going to be one of the social moves. I gotta fix my book here real quick. So I think this is going to be a not recover, not the fate. Where is it? Not exploration. Connection move. So we're going to. Well, we're not. That's, you know, I think this is more of a compel or gather information. I think this is a compel. When you try to persuade someone or make them an offer. Charm, pacify, encourage, threaten, or lie or swindle. I think we are just trying to pacify a bit. Trying to get this guy to just slow his roll a bit and maybe explain why the journey is going to fail, right? So we're going to roll plus heart. And so he looks at the guy and says, "Hey, are you okay? You look a little disheveled. I am new here, but maybe we can talk through this." All right, let's roll a plus heart. So his heart is +2. Ooh, so we got 7 + 2 is 6. +1, so 7. So unfortunately, though, this is not a meet or beat. This is exceed only. So this is still a miss. So on a miss, they refuse or make a demand that costs you greatly. Now, this narratively makes so much sense. This guy, this Kakujin fellow, was just in the presence of this anomaly, and has his mind has been twisted. And even though maybe he can understand a lot more languages or something than other people can, it's just too much. And now he's just going off the deep end, so to speak. So we need to pay the price. Now I have this little, cheat sheet card here, and usually you make the most obvious negative outcome. And with this, the boring answer is that the guy just rambles on and just leaves. But doesn't make for a cool story. So, and I don't really want to ask the Oracle. So I'm just going to roll on this table here and then interpret what that might be. So let's roll. We got 84. Again, I'm doing it again. So I'm going to say the darker blue die that's not sparkled is the 10s dice. So 84. So 84 for us is you are stressed. Okay. So, I mean, that makes sense. So Ardel is taken aback by just the ferocity of this guy's statements and his unwillingness to have a normal conversation. Maybe this guy is too far gone. Maybe he is just out there. His eyes are crazed, a little bloodshot maybe, and he is kind of rambling, and he starts to walk away, and he looks back at Ardel and goes, "Doomed, I say, doomed." And he's a little stressed. So I'm actually going to say that reduces his spirits a little bit. And, his spirit is down to 3, even just after one day. It's not a great start for Ardel. Ardel was exiled from his home. His journey started off not so great, and even though he came here and saw the writing on the wall, so to speak, about the dangers of that the pyramid, because he saw other people there and knew not to get close, and that was the benefit, right? But he tried to reach out and connect with somebody here, and it completely backfired. And not that even completely backfired, but the portent of doom is in his mind now. There's a seed of doubt in Ardel's mind. maybe Ziva isn't as useful as it's it is programmed to be. So already one day in, and he's already suffering the seeds of doubt, and maybe he won't be able to do this. Maybe he will just have to find that book and go home. It's not looking good for Ardel right now. But that was wild. So we don't know what the guy's name was or anything. He just stormed off. After yelling about a doomed journey. I mean, that is, if that is not on the nose, then I don't know what else is. That is wild how close that is to being too ripe for this situation. But needless to say, he finds a better spot away from this anomaly, and makes note of it on his map, which I did, and tells himself to not come back here anytime soon, and to make a wide berth if he does. So he sets up camp, and I think what he wants to do, I mean, he's out in the wild. He is going to finish the night and meditate and try to gather more of that energy. Maybe the fiery energy that he wields inside will make him feel better about the day. And as he unpacks the hover bike and sets up a day camp, or a day, what's it called? Camp. Tent. That's actually connected to the bike itself. And he sits cross-legged, closes his eyes, off into the blue space out in front of him as the dark yellow-red sun, or it's more like a red sun, sets. This massive red giant sets in the distance where it meets the blue sands. He meditates, and he's going to roll plus spirit. And while his spirit's not great, he's going to try to gain some more of that fire. And a strong hit. And here's the thing. Wow, it's with a match too, so that's an opportunity. Now, on a strong hit, take up to 3. So he's at max. He is at max. So he meditates, right? And he gains 3 fire. So he's at 5 fire. So, and when you make a move aided by this energy, okay, cool, you add 2 and suffer. So basically, he could use this fire energy in certain situations that make sense and add +2 to his action die roll, which is kind of cool. But I'm going to say the opportunity for him is that the feeling of that energy inside makes him feel better, and his full potential he has not been able to feel until tonight. And as he is kind of bringing it up into his hand, and he feels the redness come up and a slight glow on his hands, and he puts his hands down into the blue sands, and you can see where it kind of turns from red to orange to that cool blue. He takes a deep breath and goes, "The sands of Vaarn meet Ardel Santos, the firebrand." And I think that's where I'll end it today. That was fun. We'll see what happens to Ardel going forward, and we will pick it up right where we last left off here, with him probably packing up from the night's rest and continuing on his journey to the archives, where he hopefully will gain some information and maybe a book or two about customs and such. So thank you all for joining me today, and until next time, see you on the flip side.